Welcome back, Buffalo Boys, episode 7, week 7, lucky number 7. It is your pal Ryan, joined by my co-host Todd. Todd, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, Ryan, and I am actually recording in North Carolina this week. I am in Raleigh, and this episode is lucky because we have another league mate here, David Evans. Give it up for David Evans.
Hey, Dave, what's up, man? He's a little camera shy. Is he really not going to say anything?
I hope he does. He's laughing.
Wow, all right. Well, Todd, this week's episode is, of course, brought to you by the good folks at Mattress Blacks. We've been saying it for a number of weeks now. If you want a comfortable sleep, there's only one name in the game, and that is Mattress Blacks. Exclusively for our listeners, if you use the promo code NEIGHBORHOODWATCH at checkout this week, you will get 25% off your first purchase. I don't know how Mattress Blacks is making money with all these deals, Todd, but here they go again with another great deal. I hope our listeners take full advantage of it. Again, that's promo code NEIGHBORHOODWATCH. And remember, at Mattress Blacks, you can get a king-size mattress that's good for your back.
You know, Ryan, I'm really thankful that Dave's here because he actually just got his mattress last week and wanted to give a testimonial. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Dave to say a couple words.
And of course, when Todd says pass the mic over, he just means look at Dave's direction and not move his laptop at all. Great to hear from you, Dave. Thanks for that. Also, very exciting news, Todd. We have our second sponsor of the pod. Yes, this week is our first week being brought to you by Boards Golf Emporium. I know many of our league members are not only fans of fantasy football and the NFL, but also golfers. And this sounds like the perfect place for them to shop. At Boards Golf Emporium, you can find hundreds of products that will help you improve your game, from all the top brands: Ping, Pinnacle, Nike, Callaway. Buffalo Boys listeners can get 20% off their first purchase when they mention this ad at checkout. And if you happen to smell something weird in the back of the store, just ignore that. I'm being told that there might be a pungent odor in the back of the store, and just ignore that. Again, that's Boards Golf Emporium, located at 1601 South 13th Street in Wilmington, North Carolina. Boards Golf Emporium, we're definitely not a front for an international marijuana smuggling operation.
Ryan, I could not be higher on Boards Emporium.
Again, mention this ad. Checkout, you will get 20% off for all of our Buffalo Boy listeners. And Todd, speaking of Buffalo Boy listeners, I'm excited to identify one of our non-league member listeners to the pod, a YouTube user by the name of Adam Jones. Sounds a lot like Adam Jones. Commented on our last episode in Arabic, nonetheless. Translated, his message reads, "This is Omar Giannis, nor am I wrong." Very mysterious, but so glad that we've finally identified one of our non-league fans. I know we have a number of them from all parts of the world. And Todd, is there anything you'd like to say to our friend Omar?
I didn't think it would happen this soon, Ryan, but I'm really excited that we've already gained an international notoriety. And I mean that in a positive way. I'm really excited for everyone listening out there. Really, thank you for sending this to all your friends. Thank you for sharing. We love you guys. We're thankful to have you listening, and we'll continue to give shout outs. Just leave comments and smash that like button.
Smash that like button, subscribe, leave those comments, and thank you to everyone listening. And special shout out to Omar. Marhaban, Omar. Shukran lak ila ali stima ili Buffalo Boys. Now, I think it is time for a sip. I see that you are smoking on a cigar, as you do. What are you sipping on right now, Todd?
Thanks, Ryan. I've got Midnight Conductor, which is a Baltic porter from the North Carolina brewery Southern Peak.
Sounds great. I am drinking wine tonight, a 2019 Pinot Noir by D. Bosler. That is the name of the winery, I guess. They are from the Casablanca Valley in Chile. You know how I love my South American wines there, Todd. Cheers to you, Todd.
Cheers, Ryan.
That is a good Pinot Noir. All right.
Dave, what are you sipping on? Fascinating, Dave. Thanks.
I mean, with these inputs, I mean, should we make Dave the third member of our Buffalo Boys team? I mean, he's just bringing so much to the pod today. This is unbelievable. Well, thanks again, Dave. Now moving on to our regularly scheduled program. I guess we should start off like we do every episode, Todd. Quality Control Coach of the Week. Who you got?
One thing that surprised me, Ryan, is we've had an owner start their optimal lineup every week this season so far. Now, with bye weeks, I'm sure it'll get a little more challenging, but we had two more owners this week start their best lineup, and that was Hoyle and me. Hoyle didn't win, so I'm declaring myself as the Quality Control Coach of the Week. Optimal lineup, top in points for, and I took Jimmy down just as I predicted.
Congratulations on that one, Todd. And for every quality control coach, there must be a clown owner or a clown coach. Who's your pick this week?
This week's clown is Dave. Dave, who is sitting right next to me, though he will not make a noise. He started Randall Cobb, who got injured, but he started Cobb over Boyd, and that cost him 8 points and a crucial win, putting him down at 2-4 this week. Compounding his loss is the trade he made for Eno Benjamin this week. He was trying to get a win, and we'll discuss that more in transaction review.
I know Dave has been saying a lot so far early on in the pod, and I would love to hear his thoughts on that trade for Eno Benjamin. Really just a head scratcher there, Dave. Well said. Oh, and of course, I forgot to plug this before we began, Todd, but I think this is as good of a time as ever. Owner orientation is back. This week, we had Forrest Britton on the podcast. Forrest, a longtime member of the WPFL. And here are some of the highlights from that interview.
I was born, and then the Cowboys won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. On game days where they've got the early slot, I set my alarm for 5:20, and I pull the big fuzzy blanket out to the couch, and I turned the TV on. And then by the time Romo took over, it was like a diehard thing. And I was super into football, and I think I've watched every game since then. I'll say it on the record. I danced around in a tiara. And so I feel like because of that, I've been able to learn and grow a lot quicker than some people.
I was wondering if you've ever designed any houses for anyone famous.
Sorry, guys. I got a little carried away with that answer. My engagement ring came in yesterday, and I picked it up. So I'm going to propose to her soon.
What a fun conversation, Ryan.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was great to hear from Forrest. I hadn't spoken to him in a while, hadn't seen him in a while. Great conversation with Forrest. I hope everyone checks out that latest episode of Owner Orientation that will be out by the Sunday kickoffs. And moving on to our next segment in Buffalo Boys, it is our bold prediction recap. Todd, I haven't had the best bold predictions lately, and last week was no different. I predicted that at least two of our running backs would have 3 touchdowns. Turns out that none of our running backs had 3 touchdowns. The closest that a couple of them got to 2, but nobody had 3. So that was a pretty bad pick by me. I would love to hear how your bold prediction went.
Ryan, my predictions last week were fire. Let me tell you about what I said last week. I said Ramondre Stevenson would get 125 yards and 2 touchdowns, which was an aggressive projection. While I didn't quite hit it, he did have 2 touchdowns and 91 total yards, and he finished tied for number 1 on the week. So I'm going to count that as a win.
That's awesome, Todd. And speaking of fire, let's go into your fire segment, a popular one amongst our fans, quick hit stats. And of course, Todd, before you begin, hit me.
As always, Ryan, gladly. This week, we're going to focus in just on West Park Fantasy League. Nixon, Jimmy, and I are all tied up with 98 wins all time. The race to 100 is neck and neck. Forrest had the 11th worst score since we switched to half-point PPR in 2012 this past week. Mr. Undefeated was taken down, reducing some of his exorbitant E-wins luck, and now he sits at 1.92 more wins than expected. Hoyle remains winless and is at 1.46 wins less than expected. AJ has vaulted up in the E-wins this week, now at 1.48 more wins than expected. This season, we've had a different points for leader every week. The parity in the top 8 is striking, Ryan. Forrest got booted off the island this week, having the lowest score of the remaining survivors. That leaves Nixon, me, you, Adler, Dave, AJ, Jimmy, Rick. My prediction is that Dave is the next survivor to fall. Dave, what do you think?
I agree.
Wow. A surprising answer. I thought he would have more confidence in his team than that. We've heard it from the horse's mouth. Dave is going to fall this week. I guess we will see what happens. Excellent. Thank you for those, as always. And speaking of Dave, you mentioned the Eno Benjamin trade that he was part of. That brings us to our next segment, transaction review. I would love to hear your thoughts on all the transactions, including 4 teams that needed starting QBs this week. I think a couple of them were picked up, and as well as 2 teams that needed started defenses. So it was pretty busy waiver wire. I'll let you tell us all about it, Todd.
It certainly was, Ryan. I'm going to jump straight into the trade. This past week, Dave traded Joe Burrow, his backup quarterback. He's got Josh Allen starting, so he's solid at quarterback. But he traded Joe Burrow for Eno Benjamin, given that his running back, James Conner, was hurt this past week and wasn't going to play. What are my thoughts, Ryan? Thanks for asking. With Conner out, Dave really needed some running back depth, and Mike was desperate for QB help. He had been barking up Dave's alley for a couple of weeks now to get Joe Burrow and had been starting different QBs throughout that time. Unfortunately, while Dave is a brilliant guy, it was a bit short-sighted as Dave had Josh Allen on bye this week, which resulted in Dave having to spend exorbitantly on his transaction review, which we'll talk about in a second. So now he has Matt Ryan instead of Joe Burrow, and he's got Eno Benjamin, who only got him 8 points this past week. And with that sacrifice, he still couldn't pull out a win on AJ.
Yeah, that was tough. You know, Matt Ryan had a good week last week. I don't know if he'll be able to do it again, but I surely would want to pick Joe Burrow as my starter over Matt Ryan. That's just me personally.
Candidly, Ryan, I did give Dave the thumbs up via text before he made the trade. I didn't think it was the worst trade at the time, but I hadn't considered, just like Dave, I had not considered the future at play here.
Kansas City is a shithole.
You heard it here first.
There you go. Put it on the record.
Moving on to the waivers this week, it was a huge waiver week, as you alluded to, Ryan, with a couple of the top offenses on bye. We're without Josh Allen. We're without Jalen Hurts. We're without several quarterbacks, several receivers on those teams, and several notable tight ends and defenses as a result, including Kirk Cousins, but not as notable. 5 QBs were bid on and picked up in 1 week alone, Ryan. So 5 different teams have new quarterbacks this week. And that was even more than the 4 that you anticipated coming into the week. So you had good foresight there. Our largest waiver bid of the season went down for $101 for Alex Pierce. Forrest got his guy. Jimmy is probably kicking himself this week for not holding on to him as he dropped him right before last week's game started. Dave bid $28 for defense. As a reminder for all of our friends out there, including Omar, we have a $200 budget. So Dave spent 10%, more than 10% of his budget on a defense for 1 week, albeit Broncos are a pretty solid defense, especially since they don't have to worry about the other team racking up a bunch of points when Mr. Unlimited can't score any points. Conversely, AJ bid $16 on the Broncos and obviously did not win. That tied the highest bid of all time for a defense that did not actually get that defense. And half the league bid on the Broncos defense. So while Dave may have spent an exorbitant amount, he got his D. So congrats on getting your D, Dave.
Thanks. My D's wet.
We're definitely not going to cut that out and use it throughout the season.
Dave also had a mammoth bid on Matt Ryan this week, one of the 5 QBs taken. Dave put down $28. Unfortunately, the next highest bid was $11, so not as efficient as his Broncos D bid was. Now, I'm not convinced Matt Ryan will outperform the other 4 QBs picked up this week. I personally was outbid for 3 different QBs and I ended up landing Jimmy G, which I'm okay with. I think they're all rental QBs, and they're going to put up mediocre numbers to begin with, which should be good enough for this week. This past waiver bid was the 15th highest week since 2019 in terms of dollars bid. So it was a big week for new players in the West Park Fantasy League.
Yeah, very busy week. Kind of off topic a little bit. I guess it is on topic, but what is your take on Pierce? I mean, is he really worth that much? I mean, is he going to be a performer throughout the season?
It's a great question, Ryan, and it's a question that many a fantasy owner is currently asking themselves. My take, though, is, and I've been notorious about this and have been proven wrong in recent years, is that rookie fantasy receivers don't produce value. Ever since Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, I've been getting proven wrong, and maybe I have to change that stance, but I'm not optimistic that Pierce will be able to continue producing. With that said, though, Ryan, he has been getting double-digit targets. He has been getting catches. He has been performing well. It's hard to say if that will continue.
Producer note, targets have never been above 9.
Okay. There you go. I guess we will have to see what happens. Thanks for your thoughts there, Todd, and thanks for Transaction Review. And now we're moving into the meat of the show. It is Matchup Rundown Review. We're starting that out before Matchup Rundown. I did not have a great week. I went 4-3 last week with my predictions, although both you and I predicted that Mike's first win would happen. He did not, still has not thanked us for that. I'm a little sad, but it is what it is. Also, I finally calculated how I did in week 1, Todd. So I'm happy to say that through 6 weeks, I am 25-17 with my predictions. I feel like you're a little better than me. How did you do last week, and what is your season total?
Really excited that you pulled those numbers together. I, as well, came out of this past week at 4-3, which puts me at 26-16 on the season. So I have a 1-game lead on you, and that makes it really exciting for our predictions this week.
Absolutely.
One other note on this past week is I predicted Hoyle against my better judgment, and I will never do that again. You can count it now. I will not predict another win for Hoyle the rest of the season.
Wow. Okay, we heard it here first. Sorry, Hoyle. Spoiler alert, I do not have Hoyle winning this week, but we will get into that matchup in just a second. And without further ado, it is Matchup Rundown. I guess I will be selfish and start with my game against Neil. This is the only stat you need to know here, Todd. My team is averaging 110.1 points this season. Neil's team is averaging 89.9. Enough said. It's going to be me all the way.
Honestly, Ryan, I'm questioning your stats because I don't think Neil has scored that much. So
that is according to ESPN, so it could be faulty stats. You're right.
Regardless, winners win, and you've been winning, Ryan, so I've got you as well.
Awesome. Next is Nixon versus our acclaimed guest today, Dave. I will let you go first, Todd.
Yeah, Ryan, I've got Nixon here this week. He's been trending really well. He's got 3 consecutive weeks with 100-plus points, and I think that success continues this week.
Yeah, I like Nixon's pickup of Derek Carr and his matchup against the Texans this week, and I think Nixon will just squeeze this one out. Dave, your thoughts?
Unfortunately for Nixon, he doesn't have an RB2 this week. Not sure how that's going to pan out.
Wow, yeah, Dalvin Cook is out. That's pretty interesting. Todd, are you going to change your prediction there?
For Dave, without the Buffalo Bills, I'm just not confident, Ryan.
Ouch. Sitting right next to the man and dissing him to his face. That's either friendship or just pure boldness. I will let the viewers decide. Omar, let us know your thoughts. Up next is Mike S. versus Adler. This is my game of the week. I think this is an absolute toss-up. Mike has really fueled up the rocket ship and is ready to go. His team looks good, but so does Adler's. If I had to make a pick, I will take Adler. Sorry, Mike. But yeah, I think this is going to be a really close one.
This actually ties to my weekly wager, so I don't want to give out too many hints before we get there. But I see a really bad week coming for Kyler, and I think that's going to negatively impact Adler's squad this week.
All right. Well, color me curious. I'm so glad to hear that there is a weekly wager. I can't wait to hear what that is later in the show. Moving on, though, it's going to be AJ versus you, Todd. I will let you start.
I've got myself over AJ. This is a bipocalypse for both of us. He's without his best two receivers. I'm without several players and the number 2 QB. But I have more depth, so I'm confident in my squad to come out ahead this week.
Yeah, I think this is another toss-up, but I'm picking you, Todd. I don't love AJ starting 3 Jags against a pretty good Giants team. I'm interested to see how that one goes for him, but I think you've got this one.
It's going to be interesting how Todd handles the IR slot on his team with the he has an ineligible player for IR. Fuck.
We're keeping all of that. He's got an eligible. Fuck.
Get off my lawn.
Up next, Todd, it is our owner orientation guest this week. It is Forrest versus Rick. Rick is the 4th fantasy owner who needed a QB this week. He has not picked one up as of, what is today, Wednesday night. It will be interesting to see where he goes there. But he does have Henry and Jacobs coming back from bye. I think Jamar Chase could go off against Atlanta. So despite not having a QB right now, I'm picking Rick here.
It's really hard to analyze this one when Rick doesn't have a QB, especially when the top 5 QBs on waivers were all picked up during the weekly waiver on Tuesday. Not sure what Rick was doing, but seems par for the course. So with 2, 3, and 3 teams, I'm going to have to go with my preseason favorite, Forrest, here.
All right. Sounds good, Todd. Next, we have Hoyle versus Mims. I think you sort of let the cat out of the bag earlier about your pick in this one. I did as well. It's not looking good for Hoyle. I've got Mims in this one.
I'm actually going Hoyle this week, Ryan. No, I'm really not. I will never again. I've been traumatized and it's done. I'm sorry, Hoyle. I hope you do well, but I will never pick for you again. Mims, I don't care who you're starting this week. You've got the W.
Wow. Okay. Hoyle going 0-7 sounds like. Sorry, Hoyle. Best of luck. And last game of the week, it is Jimmy versus Doug. These are 2 teams that picked up starting defenses on Tuesday. And I think this is going to be a really, really good game. I've already picked my game of the week, but this one is really fascinating. Before I give my take, Todd, I will let you give yours.
These are 2 solid squads. One's a 5-1 team. One's a 4-2 team. I really like what Jimmy's been doing. Doug's been winning despite his expected wins. So he's got something going for him. But with a couple of Doug's key players with the questionable tag, I'm going to give the coin flip to Jimmy here.
Yeah, I agree. Jimmy is my pick. You know what, Todd? I haven't really been involved in the group me as much this week, but it feels like after Doug got his first loss, it's been a little quieter from Doug. Have you been getting that as well?
Some might say it's bearable.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first from Dave. And all right, that was matchup rundown. Moving on, it is breakout of the week. Like my bold prediction, Todd, I had a pretty bad breakout selection last week. I said that Jonathan Taylor would break out last week. You said that wasn't actually a breakout unless he got more than, 25 points? Well, spoiler alert, he didn't actually play. What I really meant to say was that Deion Jackson would break out. He sure did. I'm glad I started him. But yeah, not a good pick by me. I'm going to take an easy one on this one. Maybe this is cheating, but I'm just not good at these picks. So here goes nothing. My pick for breakout of the week is DeAndre Hopkins. He is set to have his first game of the season, and I think he's going to have more than 10 fantasy points. Again, maybe that's cheating, but he is my breakout of the week. Todd, your thoughts?
You know, Ryan, I'm going to give you last week because if Deion Jackson could get that many points, JT would have feasted. And, you know, we're recording this early in the week. It's it's not incumbent on us to update it throughout the week. You guys know what's going on. So you got that one, Ryan. However, your D-Hop pick, I cannot get behind. He barely has had time to practice with the team. Kyler, I believe, has a Call of Duty release coming up or having just come out. I don't know. I'm not a gamer, but I think that's coming up soon. And I'm just not confident in anything they're doing offensively. They cannot get anything going right now. So even though D-Hop's pretty talented, it's not going to be a good week for him. My breakout last week, Ryan, was Kenneth Walker, and he feasted. I said that he would get 20 touches, 100 yards. He got 23 touches and 110 total yards. Spot on, Ryan. We'll get you on the same train next week, I hope. This week, though, my breakout is Mike Williams. The Chargers over-under this week is currently the highest at 52.5 points. This will be a classic Mike Williams blow-up week, and he's going to finish with 2 touchdowns, 80-plus yards, and a top-5 finish.
Okay. I hope that comes true, Todd. Thanks for that. Second to last, we've got our bold predictions. Obviously, we went over our recap earlier in the show. Another segment I'm not good at. So as you mentioned, Todd, we had 5 QBs picked up from the waiver wire this week. And my bold prediction is that one of those QBs that someone starts, I don't know who it is, but one of those QBs is absolutely going to shit the bed, and they're going to get less than 10 points. So we will see what happens. Finally, you alluded to a weekly wager segment this week. I know those have been popular amongst our listeners. Hope Omar gets back to us with a bet on this one. But what is your weekly wager this week, Todd?
To recap last week real quick, I bet that Jimmy gets 150 points in a game before Doug this season, and the league agreed. No one wanted anything to do with that bet. Not even for $5. No one was even willing to toss out a measly $5 for Doug. It's not promising, Doug. But this week, our $5 weekly wager is centered around Kyler Murray, like I alluded to. The current NFL prop bet in Vegas is that Kyler Murray has 245.5 passing yards against New Orleans. I'm smashing the under. So if you think that Kyler Murray will get 245.5 yards or more, message me on GroupMe. You'll make my day.
All right. I'm going to have to agree with you on that one, Todd. I don't think that he is going to get over that number. So I'm interested to see who disagrees with us. But a great weekly wager as always. Thank you for all that, Todd. Thank you to our guest today, our impromptu guest, Dave. Any final words for the people, Dave?
Good luck.
Yes. Good luck to you, Todd. Good luck to you, Dave. Good luck to me, and good luck to everyone else. We will talk to you next week.
And remember, don't get buffaloed.